Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us live, and welcome to another live event organized by America House Chisinau, the cultural center administered by the U.S. Embassy in Moldova. My name is Margareta Kaluger. I am the program manager at America House, and today we are going to talk about the Professional Fellows Program, a global exchange program designed to promote mutual understanding, enhance leadership, and professional skills. Our special guest today is Dina Ceri, PFP coordinator in Moldova. Hello, Dina, and thank you very much for making time for us and being willing to explain what this program is all about, talk about the eligibility criteria and how to apply to it properly.
Yeah. Hi, Margaret. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, happy to talk about this. Excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And you have prepared a presentation for us. I will let you now share your screen. Meanwhile, dear audience, if you have questions related to the program or the application process, feel free to ask them in the comments section and we will answer them. So here is the presentation.
Yep. Thank you. We will go through some of the slides and I'll tell you everyone a bit more about the program, but on the last slide there will be my phone number and email, so if there's any question whatsoever that you will have now or later, you can always also just call me directly after this and ask. So let's go. So my name is Dina Ceri, as Margareta already mentioned. I work for American Council. You might have heard about this, about AC. They run different exchange programs, educational programs. Maybe some of the more popular one is Flex. Maybe you've heard the one-year exchange program in the States for high schoolers. Access, it's a small English language scholarship program. LC, the language center. And the fourth program is PFP, the one which we're going to talk about today, the Professional Fellows Program. Which is a 6-week internship in the States in a US public institution. PFP was started in 2005, and this you see on the screen the participating countries. You have our link there as well. Sorry, it doesn't look too clear, but I guess you can still kind of get the link. This is how our website looks, and you can see that we have a registration open right now for the program. So it's, as I said, it's a 6-week internship in a public institution. And it can be anything from, city halls, NGO centers, offices, university, Library of Congress, and many others. What's the cool thing about PFP is that we are trying to match the people, the participants, with the exact organization that matches their interests and their professional background. For example, if you're working in, I don't know, a social care or education, and for the Ministry of Education here, you would be placed somewhere in the States that does the exact same thing you're doing at home, or that where you'd have a similar responsibility, so that you can get a taste of how things are done there, so we can come back, bring back those experiences. So it can be any of these institutions, but it's not limited to this list. It always changes depending on your background. So it's a very personalized, I would say, experience. This is the eligibility criteria we have. They're not too strict. The program is open for young leaders from 25 to 35. There are exact dates once you open the application forms, but this is the age range. And you need to be currently employed and to have 2 years of professional experience at the time of your application. You need to be proficient in English and to be a citizen of Moldova. So I would say they're pretty general. Regarding the English proficiency, you would also do an English test at our office, at the American Council office. It's entirely free, but I'll mention that later during the application process. So which is next? The stages are we're just now in the first stage, where we have a recruitment open until the 28th of March. This is where you can go online on the website and submit your application regarding for this program. The next stage would be for the semifinalists, for the people who go into the semifinal stage. They will be invited to our office, and we'll have a TOEFL paper-based test, which is different than the TOEFL IBT that you do in the city, the really hard 4-hour test. This is a I would say it's simpler version that it's a paper-based test. It's 2 hours, I think, or so. So it's you will do that free of charge at our office for the semifinalists of the program. And the last and final stage is the interview, which will be held at our office, at the AC office in Moldova. And you will be interviewed by experts from the US Embassy, from the American Households Washington office, and AC Moldova office. Okay. And next we'll go just briefly through the application process. It just requires some basic information about your background, contact information, some questions regarding your placement. For example, would you be okay living with pets or living with a smoking family or not? Because all the fellows that are going to the States, they're placed with the host family. So it's important for us that you also feel comfortable to live there for those 6 weeks. And next question here is the essay question, which is the, I guess, most important part of the application. These are the three questions we have. You would have to answer for. They're, I would say, also not too complicated. You'll just have to relate more about your interest in the program. Why are you applying? What are your goals? And what is the one specific challenge that's heavy on your heart, or that you really care about in Moldova and you want to see changed? That you'd write about that in the second essay. And the third one would be, it's regarding the album project, which I would tell about later. Because all the fellows that go through the program have the opportunity to bring back their supervisors from US here in Moldova. And the third question is regarding that. What would you do with them here? What project would you do together? But I'll get there more in the next slide. So PFP is Moldova from 2012. We have 50 alumni so far. 50 awesome, energetic, active alumni. We're very proud of them. So these are some of our one of our groups that went to the States. You see here on the screen, and their backgrounds. And they're also a good example of placement. For example, Christina Perlinsky, she worked in an NGO. You can see the exact description of them, and this is where they were placed. It was also similar placement to like their work, like their professional work was back home. So this was also related to their specific interest, because many people might have maybe a background in education, but they're working in education, but they're also interested how would maybe something related to education, or that they're not necessarily doing at the moment in their job, but they would be interested in. So we try to take these things into account too, and to find a placement that best matches the professional background, but also the personal interests of the person for the current and future interests. So, okay. And this is, I mentioned about before, the album project. So this is where the participants who go to the States have the opportunity to bring back home their supervisors, their colleagues from the States, and they can do something together. They can invite them here for a week or two, and they can organize something, a workshop, a training, or anything else they have on their mind. This would be an example of a project like this. We had the two of our fellows, Dumitru Rus and Petru Surcanu. They went on the same group, and they decided to combine efforts and work together on a project. So I will tell you a bit of the background. So at that time in Moldova, the trust in police was on a very low. There were a very loud case where a person died in the police custody, so it was on all media. So that was a very relevant issue at that time. And what Dumitru and Petru did together. So Dumitru is working for Ministry of Internal Affairs. Petru is working. Petru is working for Ministry of Internal Affairs. Dumitru is working for Institute for Human Rights. And they did together a training for all of for employees of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the General Police Inspectorate regarding the protection of human rights and community policing. This is some pictures from their trainings. They went all around Moldova and met with police officers and visit police stations and organized different events on this topic. I think I had more slides in there. Is that all? Okay, let me check as well. Did I include everything in there? Okay. Well, yeah, this would be actually the end of the presentation. So yeah, this is the final step of the PFP experience, where you get to do your outbound project upon your return at home, and then afterwards you remain for life an alumni of the U.S. alumni community. Which is a great opportunity, because throughout the years there are so many events organized by the U.S. Embassy, by the American Councils, professional development opportunities, or just different kind of events with speakers that are open only for the USG alumni community, which you would be a part of. So it's although the program PFP itself lasts 6 weeks, you're a lifetime afterwards. You're part of this alumni community, and you could have even cooler experiences maybe in the future through this, because of this. So this is what I have at the moment for now. If there's any questions people have, they can contact me here. This is me. Have on the screen my phone number, my email. So don't hesitate to text or call if you have any questions.
So thank you very much, Dina, for your presentation. Yes, we've got a question from Christian Slobodanyuk. So he's saying, thank you for this webinar. Would previous experience in the US be considered as a disadvantage for not for being qualified for the program?
Mm-hmm. Previous experience in the US could be anything, work and travel, other education programs. The only thing maybe that would be a disadvantage for you to apply to PFP if you were an applicant and a participant of another Department of State funded exchange program, and you were with a J1 visa, you went on a similar program, because this would mean that you have a 2-year stay rule where you cannot go in the state with a similar program. So unless you had a very specific program similar to this, unless you participated in one similar to this and recently, then no previous US experience would be a problem.
Mm-hmm. While we are waiting for other questions from our audience, I would like to ask you something about the program. Mm-hmm. Has anything changed in the application process from the last year, or even in the program, if there are any changes that occurred in the last year?
Yeah, actually PFP was quiet for about almost 2 years or a year and a half while the pandemic was going on. So we had the last group that we had to do their fellowship online because they weren't able to travel. And also we paused the recruitment because of this. And now finally things are slowly opening up, and hopefully we can actually send the group physically to the US in the fall, in September. So we're doing everything. Right now we're going everything the good old way, how we did it before, prior to pandemic and prior to all the recent events. So, and we'll see. But we'll have to be flexible if anything changes until then.
Mm-hmm. And what does the program cover, and especially financially, if it does?
So the program covers pretty much all of the expenses, including the visa application process, the tickets, the expenses. So your host stay family they're all doing this volunteering. They are not paid by this. They're all happy to host you, and participants would also receive a little stipend for their expenses while in the US, so they can cover their meals, some of their trips or excursion or like museum visits or some study materials that they need to buy. So it's a fully funded exchange program.
That's very interesting and useful to know. And what is the overall experience the participants will get from this program? You already said that they will be hosted by a family there. They will attend events. What else?
Yeah, I realized I should have included some slides in there about that as well. So the program actually is it's a very full experience. So once the fellows get to the States, they're part of the like let's say a video, an introduction to the program, where they can meet all the participants from every other countries. So they're for 2 days they're in Washington D.C. Undergoing this orientation and introduction to the program, and they can also see Washington D.C., visit the city, and then after these 2 days they're distributed to their own states and host families, and their day work they can visit and do different things with their host family. Some of our past participants, depending on who they lived with, got to be exposed to so many things, because some of these people also work in similar fields and have similar interests like the participants of the program. So they're an added value to the program, the host families. And afterwards, after the 6-week experience with the company, with the organization, and with the family, the fellows are invited back to the Washington D.C., where they do a closing ceremony for the program. That's another day or two in Washington, and from there on, they're flied back home. So that's about the timeline, or how it looks.
Thank you very much for your answer. And I have another question regarding the application process. You mentioned the participants have to write like an essay. And what are the most frequent mistakes made by applicants when applying or when writing these essays, and how they can avoid it?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I would say, so there's a limit, to a wording limit. So don't try to be overachiever and go past that word limit. 500 words is plenty enough. So I would say pick a topic that's very personal and very interesting to you and relates to your work background. You don't have to. I always tell participants that they don't need to target huge issues like corruption in Moldova or something. It doesn't have to be something outside of their work scope, or it just, even if it's something smaller, but that's something that you actually have access to you have access to impact, you have a way to make a little difference there. Choose that subject where you can actually make a bit of a difference through, and this experience would help you.
Okay, thank you, Dina. We've received 2 more questions. One is from Dina Televka. Where can I find the link for the registration? What English level is required to be eligible? What will be my cost for this program if I am eligible? Thank you.
Okay, so I will, let's see, with the link for the registration, I'm gonna leave a comment also under this Facebook Live and leave there the website and the link for the registration, so you can access it there. Also, the English level, you need to be fluent or like comfortable enough to work in an American environment, in an American office. So it doesn't need to be I don't know, a very high level, but
native level.
Native level, obviously, it doesn't have to be that, but you need to be comfortable working with your U.S. colleagues, being at the head host family. So that's like the bare minimum that where you can be comfortable in and operate in a U.S. environment. And the last one, what will be my cost? As I said, this is fully funded, so there are no costs for this program other than that you lay on the trolley bus to get to the American Consul's office. So other than that, there's no other cost. Everything is covered.
Okay, and we got another question from Christian Slobodanyuk. How much flexibility is there in choosing the NGO we would like to work for?
So during the interview, the final interview, we have a person coming from Washington, D.C. office here in Moldova for the interviews. And the reason why they're here, one of the main reasons, is so they can hear about your interests. What is the exact organization you're interested in? Maybe you have a name for it, or maybe you just have criteria. So it depends on the possibility. If it's possible, the American Council will try to match you with the specific organization you are interested in. However, if that is not possible, they'll try to find the best match that's best match to your interest, and you will be able to tell them that your specific requirements and preferences on the interview. If not in the application process, then during the interview, you'll definitely be able to give more details about what you're interested in.
Okay, so we don't have any more questions. We can wait for them, or I don't know. I'd like to ask you one last question. What piece of advice would you give to those who want to apply for the program? How would you encourage them?
I would say don't get too scared by the essays and application process. People see that they need to write 3 essays, and it's like, oh, they changed their mind, or the second process. But I would say the whole experience is worth it, and just don't overthink things. Just provide the basic information, and if there's any issues, you can always call and ask. And I would also like to mention, regarding the previous question Christian asked, I could give an example. We have a past alumni, Anastasia Vrancian. She was, at the moment of the application, she was the director of Caritas in Moldova, and in the States, she was placed with Autism Speaks, and she specifically requested if possible, to be placed in this organization, because she was very much passionate about working with children with autism and their families. And she was able to. She had an interview with Autism Speaks. They were okay with taking her on board. So although this is not the exact thing she was working with at Caritas, and this was still part of her future professional interests. So she was able to advocate for that. So there is a certain amount of flexibility regarding your placement. Yeah.
Okay, then. We don't have any more questions, so I think we will. Let me check. We have some.
After this,
from Christian as well.
Yeah.
He says, I also work for a Czech organization. This was super useful. Feel much more encouraged to apply. Last question: how many people have applied last year, and how many do you choose for the program?
Okay, I will not give specific numbers of applicants, as this is more of internal information. But I can tell you that a year it's a fairly small program. So a year there's 6 applicants, 6 people going to the States, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. However, the applicants, I was telling Margarita before this as well, the applicants are fairly not that many, so don't get scared off by the maybe small number of slots. It's a fair competition. It's not an overwhelmingly big number of applicants, so you have a very good chance. Yeah, and I want to say that, and immediately after this, I will go and on the Facebook page event and comment and leave in the comment the exact links, so you can access it from there.
So we've got another question actually from Yulia Terpan. If I have a TOEFL IBT certificate from January 2022, need I to pass paper-based tests in your office?
No, you do not. If you have a total IBT certificate, it needs to be above a certain score. I need to check what the exact number, but you can send that to me during the second round. If you have a total IBT certificate or you have a certificate of graduation from educational program in some foreign country. So there's some exemptions from this TOEFL test. So people are free to send me their documents, and we can exempt them from the English test. And, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dina, for your answer, and thank you for accepting our invitation to talk about the PFP program. I hope that our young Moldovan professionals will take this change, apply, and win their spot in the program. I remind you that the call for application is open until March 28th, 2022. Dear audience, thank you for watching this informative session organized by America House Chisinau. America House is the cultural center administered by the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Embassy. We provide cultural and educational programs and events such as book club meetings, spelling bee contest, discussion and debate clubs, movie screenings, and other events for people who want to develop their English skills, go study in the U.S., or learn more about American culture. We also have a library with resources in English that you can borrow for free. Our center is open to everyone, regardless of age, academic level, language, social or economic status, and is absolutely free. We will organize events almost on a daily basis on site here at America House, but also online. We are waiting for you, and we will be glad to have you here. For now, I'll say goodbye, and I wish you a peaceful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.